everyone, my name is Marie from Medical Channel Asia, and today I have with me a very special guest. Hello.
Hi Marie, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, my name's Adam Roach. I'm the VP and Head of Asia Pacific for BeiGene, and I'm here from Sydney.
Right, so what brings you here all the way from Sydney to Singapore?
It's about my 6th trip to Singapore this year, and I'm spending more and more time in the region because BeiGene has a lot of aspiration and a lot of ambition for what we can do in this part of the world.
So what has been the biggest thing that has been keeping you in Singapore so many times?
Well, we've recently got some regulatory approvals in Singapore for our BTK inhibitor. We're building a team here in Singapore, so we've got a commercial team now, a medical affairs team, a regulatory team. So as we start to build out our presence in Southeast Asia, Singapore tends to be a hub for our business.
Right, so cancer is really this condition with the increasing unmet need. I think especially with the aging population, we do see an increased incidence of cancers, not only in Asia, around the world as well.
Yeah, I mean, currently there's about 20 million people every year diagnosed with cancer. And we think that that's going to increase by about 10 million more people by 2040. So the unmet need is profound and it's getting bigger and bigger every year.
How is BeiGene helping in terms of increasing the drug regulatory in around the region, especially in Asia Pacific?
Yeah, so the whole genesis of our company's foundation is to address unmet need in cancer in more places around the world. And so about 25% of the world's cancer burden sits here in Asia Pacific outside of China. And so one of the things that I think differentiates BeiGene from other companies is a commitment to address affordability and cancer in more places around the world, places like Southeast Asia. And so specifically with our BTK inhibitor, we've now got regulatory approvals in places like Australia, New Zealand, Korea and Singapore. But importantly, we've also got regulatory approvals in Malaysia. We're expecting one in Thailand. We have one in the Philippines, and we hope to have a regulatory approval in Indonesia next year. So these are places that are often forgotten by multinational companies and places that we're very committed to working with.
How would you address the issue of affordability and accessibility in these regions, especially because they may be poorer or they may not have the health infrastructure required?
That's a good question and something we think about a lot. And traditionally, the pharmaceutical industry has run clinical trials in places like the US, in Europe and Japan, which is about 12% of the world's population. So that means that around 88% of the world's population will never have access or will have to wait far too long to get access to medicine. And so what we're doing to address that is we're running clinical trials in a broader set of geographies. For example, we've got 60 clinical trial sites now in Thailand, Malaysia and Singapore, and that's something we're very proud of. And what that allows us to do is offer more access to more patients in more places around the world.
Yeah, I think that's really important, especially for cancer clinical trials. We all know that there are genotypic differences between the Asian population as well as the Caucasian population. So having R&D efforts, especially towards the Asian population, really helps to address the cancer condition here in the region.
Yeah, that's true. And again, historically, the construct of this industry is that largely revenue comes from Europe and the US. And so Asia Pacific tends to be sequenced behind those geographies. And what that does is it creates a lag in access. And so what we're seeking to do is be very inclusive in our clinical trial programs. We're China inclusive, obviously, but we're also inclusive in geographies like Southeast Asia, the ones I just spoke about.
All right. So how do you see BeiGene moving forward in the next 5 years or 10 years or so? Where do you see the focus lies?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of aspiration and a lot of ambition, particularly in this part of the world. And if you think about the population in Asia Pac, outside of China, 1/3 of the world's population lives in Asia Pacific. If you include China, it's 2/3 of the world's population. So we want to be in the countries that are often deprioritized by this industry. Places like the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Cambodia. And it's our goal to have our own presence, our own footprint, our own affiliates in each of these countries so that we can serve these massive patient populations which are so often having to go without medicine.
Thank you so much for being here, Adam.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So do you have any last words for our viewers?
Only to say that at BeiGene, we like to say that cancer has no borders, and neither do we. And I hope that in the next few years, we'll really live into that mission and that philosophy, and you'll see us in more places, in more parts of the world.